Okay, in this tutorial, we're going to use Visual Studio and C#.net to create a close replica of the Windows calculator. First things first, let's jump in and go ahead and create a new project. We'll call it WinCalc. Now what this does, this creates a blank Windows form. If we ran this right now using the start button, the play button, what you'd get is just a very simple empty form, right? We haven't done anything with it yet. And what we're trying to recreate again is the Windows calculator. So let's modify a few things about the form itself that will get a little bit closer to looking like the calculator. Namely, we need to disable the maximize button. As you can see, that doesn't work here. We can remove this icon because I don't have a calculator icon to replace it with. We'll change the name of the form to calculator, and then we'll set it to our application to start in the middle of the screen, just so it stays within the viewing area of the recorder I'm using. Okay, so first things first, I have the form selected. When I have the form selected, you'll notice that the properties dialog box over here will populate with all the properties associated with this particular form. In your Visual Studio, you may have it shrunk or minimized, I should say. To open it, you can simply click on properties and pin it so that it stays open. Form 1 is the name of our form, but it's also the text that's showing in the label. So if we wanted to rename our form, we can simply type into this particular property that we want to call it calculator. Like I said, we don't have an icon for it, so I'm going to use the show icon property, and you can double click it or you can use the drop down menu and set it to false. Also, I said we wanted to disable the maximize box. That's a setting right here. So I'm simply going to double click that to change that to false. And then the very last thing I wanted to do was set the form to launch in the middle of the screen. So I think there is a set default location. Where is that at? Start position. So we're going to say center screen. Okay. And now if we run our form, after making those few modifications, you'll see the window launches right in the middle of my screen. The form title says calculator, and the maximize button is disabled. Okay, so easy enough. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to add buttons to cover all of the functionality that we want to incorporate into our calculator. So it's really simple. Again, if this is minimized, you can simply click on your toolbox, pin it, and then start looking for a component. Yours might not look exactly like mine. Start looking for a component called button. You can either double click on this or you can drag and drop. Either way, it will add a button to your WinForm. Okay. Um, we're going to do a lot of copy and paste with the buttons because they're all basically the same size and shape and font and that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and tweak this one button, and we'll start with number 1 since that makes sense. And then I'm going to make the size, or I'm sorry, the size of the button 45 by 45. And then I'm going to change the font. I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger. We'll bump it up to 14. Okay. So now we have a button, right? And what we want to do is we want to create a lot more of these buttons. So I'm simply going to copy and paste additional buttons and start kind of framing out where I want them to reside on my WinForm. Now, Visual Studio provides some auto alignment features that kind of snap in that you can use, or if you want to select multiple components on your WinForm, you can use some of the match size aligning functions that are available as well. So let's get these knocked out. And actually, we don't need this guy. This is going to be our 0 button, which if you look at the Windows calculator, um, is two columns wide. Okay, and then we have our equals button over here, right there. And these two spots we'll use for clear entry